Well, welcome to Saturday Night Live, Life Recovery Ministry here in Joplin. And you know, I've been getting messages that we've been going all over. We just went live. There's been people in various different parts of states and the western states and the eastern states and some southern states, all that are tuning in, and I know there's people that's being helped by this, and not only by what I share, but what the rest of you share, and by our conversation that we have. And I want to thank you guys, all of you guys, for participating in your conversation, your thoughts, even if we don't see eye to eye on everything, because we don't have to see eye to eye on everything, because I don't even see eye to eye on everything with me, right? And so I have to work through those things. And so anyway, those that are out there in internet land, you can turn that off or down or something. And so, anyway, I bet you that's going to make a real reverberation on there. But anyway, and so I just want to say welcome to everyone out there in internet land, and thank you for you that are here. And I'm going to start off with, usually I forget about this and the offering. We have an offering basket over there on the table where John's at. If you have an offering that you'd like to give for support of Saturday Night Live, Life Recovery Ministry, you can put something in there. That's up to you. And then we turn that into church, and it's on our record of what we have, what we've pulled together. And John, do we have Bibles over here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
More books.
Okay. I ordered in some more Bibles, so and I guess I thought of that because of talking about offering, because it they're pretty.
We have medium and large shirts as well.
Okay, medium and large. So anyway, we got the bracelets here. Anybody that are interested in celebrating their clean time, and that's not just from drugs, alcohol, but that can be from anything that you're gambling, cutting, sex addiction, bad relationships. That's the first time I've heard that one thrown in there, but that fits. Anger, just anything that has its power hooks in you that you need to get free from. Yeah, and as we've been talking here about, one of the main things is lying. Nobody here probably has any problem with lying, but anyway, we want to celebrate with you, and you don't have to tell us what you're celebrating, but celebrating that, marking that time, I think is significant. So anyway, we have these bracelets for you to get if you want one out there in internet land. If you want one, come to this live meeting. Okay, we're small live meeting, so if you're worried about COVID, we're spread out. We got a big room here, and we're wide, and so there's plenty of room here. And so, and if you're not able to come, if you want to make contact with us, we'll try to get you one of these. So anyway, we got white bracelets for just today, okay, or for less than 30 days. We got orange for 30 days. We got green for 60 days, maroon for 90, blue for 6 months, yellow 9 months, glow in the dark, which is white but it glows, 1 year, gray 18 months, black 2 years or more, and silver is for 5 or more, gold is for 10 or more. So anyway, so anybody need a bracelet? Just okay. We got. Did you already get one? Well, John will bring it to you.
Okay.
He's the facilitator.
3 months is what now?
Do what?
3 months is what?
3 months
Red?
is 90 days is maroon. Okay?
Right.
Okay.
30 days.
And if you don't know where we're at, some people say, well, where are you at? Well, if you come to where our entrance is in the alleyway between 4th and 5th Street here in Joplin, between Maine and Virginia. Did you get those coordinates? Okay. And we have a sign out there. The sign looks similar to this, a iceberg. And anyway, it points into our back door, and then another sign that points down to the basement. So you're welcome to come and be with us. Everybody's welcome. We invite you, even if you're intoxicated or you're high. If you're looking for recovery, we want to help you. We may not like your stuff because you don't like your stuff, but we love you and we want to help you. And as long as you don't infringe on other folks, then we're good. We want you here. And because you're the people we're looking for, right? Right, guys? Right? And so were we, right? Aren't we all fellow strugglers? Yes, we are all fellow strugglers. There you go. All right. Our passion and mission at Saturday Night Live is to see lives transformed by helping people find a personal relationship with Jesus and find freedom through Christ, being an example of love and acceptance. That's our mission. You don't have to be seeking Jesus. You don't have to be seeking God. But if you're seeking recovery and you want our help, we welcome you. And we're not here to push anything down anybody's throat, but we feel like that's our mission. So, okay. How's that? Did I miss anything? All right, shall we continue with tonight? Tonight, we're going to be talking about step 4. And step 4 is, it depends on what's going on in your life. And so, we're going to be talking about confession tonight. And of course, that's what Brandon's going to be talking about out of Nehemiah 9, 1 through 3. And then after that, I'm going to be talking about relapse, because we've been talking about this this is our 6th week. Can you believe it? I've done this 6 times. Okay? What does that nod mean? Anyway, I haven't done it 6 times yet. I've only done it 5 times. But this is our sixth part of this, and it's relapse and how to prevent relapse. And so I'll be talking about that. Question before I get into that. Anybody learn anything on relapse or about your triggers, about self-care for yourself? Anybody from what we've talked about, anything you'd like to share?
Oh, nothing. I ain't been here to talk about it, but change people, places, things, which is true.
Yes.
But if you want dope, I don't care if you know the person or not, you're going to find it.
That's the truth.
Things you're thinking.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And thank you for that, Doug. And so, anybody else? Okay. And I've been going over some questions just to kind of stimulate you. Have these questions that we've gone over probably almost 5 times, have they been helpful for you to think about? Yeah, I got 1 nod. I got 1, 2. Can I have 3? Can I have 3? 3. Okay. I've got the double thumbs up. Okay, so here's some of the questions. What causes relapse? That's the first question. What causes relapse? We've talked about this, but have you got any new insight from you or from maybe learning and looking at this from what you want to share? What causes relapse? Financial stress.
Life.
Life.
Just stress.
Depression.
Depression, yes. And
stress.
stress, okay.
Sticking around old friends.
Seeking out old friends. Yeah, old toxic friends, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bad relationships.
Bad relationships.
Sometimes good relationships.
Sometimes good relationships is a extreme trigger also.
A 13th step.
Yeah. So, second question here. What are the common triggers for relapse? Common triggers.
For me,
Yeah, sure.
I had to throw all away my silver spoons in my house.
Okay,
If it wasn't a dope, it was whatever I put in that spoon, I'd do.
right. Okay, anybody else? Smells, yes. They can trigger you, and we're gonna be talking, I'm gonna touch on pause again tonight. Pause is the post-acute, that's it, yeah. Post-acute withdrawal syndrome, pause. Okay, and just touching on that a little bit. So thank you, Rick, for that. And maybe you can share some of your insights since you know what I'm talking about, so.
Post-acute withdrawal.
Withdrawal, yeah, pause. When we get there, okay? Unless you just want to do it right now, okay? All right. So, I mean, and just so that everybody knows, that you have your regular withdrawals, but then you have this post-acute withdrawal syndrome that's separate from just regular withdrawals. Isn't that great? We'll talk more about that later. Okay, what does it mean if you relapse?
You lose your cleaning time.
Maybe.
You get started well.
It depends on what your relapse, what one of the three relapses you get into. You can have the emotional relapse, is that you're not using, but you're not taking care of yourself, so therefore you're building up stress, and then you're on the road to an emotional relapse, which builds into a mental relapse, which then causes a physical relapse. Hello?
Being a drug addict, drug use is
Y'all too.
relapse.
Do what?
Being a drug addict, drugs is a drug, it's a relapse.
Well, using those, but a relapse, we'll be talking about the relapses here in a moment, but relapse starts emotionally.
Okay.
There's 3 stages of relapse,
Yeah, I understand.
okay? Then maybe you ought to be teaching the class.
Not me.
Okay, all right, let's see, why do people relapse when things are going good?
Those things are going good. They're not used to that.
They think they've got something.
Brandon says, for as in a reward, thinking that, well, I'm done so good that I can do something and nobody will know about it, or I can do one, or I can get by with it. I haven't done this for so long that now it won't bother me now.
Or it's somebody's birthday.
Or yeah, or all kinds of yeah. And that's because that kind of thinking is some of the emotional and also mental relapses. Because if you think that way, then that means you haven't let go
Right.
of the substance, right,
Stick of
or
things.
behavior. Okay, because you see it as a good thing. If you use it as a reward,
Stinking thinking.
if you're using it as a reward, then you could be in a relapse. What?
Or you can think one glass of wine is not gonna hurt anything. Jesus drank wine, why can't I have one glass of wine? That's kind of where
Right,
I have to.
And I would say if you have to use that rationalization, I wonder what that means.
What does that mean?
That means you're in the middle of emotional relapse.
If you think it's okay to drink a glass of wine?
If there's not any reason why I can't do that now because Jesus drank wine, then it must be okay for me. That's rationalization.
I
Because if you're arguing with you about something that you say you don't want to do, then that means you're in the middle of emotional relapse. Yes, sir.
Oh, I was just gonna say for me, I know, and this has happened to me a lot of times, you know, I've got myself in a relapse when things were good, by thinking that I'm so far along in my sobriety now that I've got this book, man, I can have a couple of drinks on the weekend and be done with it, go back to work Monday and everything's gonna be just fine, and it don't work like that. Not for me.
Well, and when we talk about the post-acute withdrawal syndrome, you know, they say that it normally lasts up to a year, but it can last up to 2 years or longer. In fact, I've heard with those that use meth that it can go up to like 5 years. 10? Okay. 10? Okay. Well, and that's because some of the chemicals still in your lungs and because it's crystallized, and then it sometimes can break off and give you that. So, all right. Question: will I always be in danger of relapse?
Yes.
One side or another.
And the reason why we would be in danger is because you're not taking care of yourself. You have let down on the self-care. Just kind of your story right there. You know, I've been doing real good, so I should be able to do this. And if you have to rationalize it that way, that means you're in emotional relapse.
You know, Doug, I've thought about, you know, spiritual action, going back to kind of some programs I've been in before, and spiritual action says it's easy to let up on our spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels, but we are headed for trouble.
Right?
For alcoholism and addiction is a subtle foe, but we are not cured. Now I kind of have a problem with that, because, well, I mean, I do and I don't, because like it says, are we always in danger of a relapse? And I believe that we can be, because we live in a fallen nature, a fallen state, and so we're going to always be, like even Paul tells us, you know, we're always going to be tempted, you know, because we live in a world that's, you know, I live in a world that's there's stuff around me that's always trying
And
to
it is-
advertisement.
It is around us all the time. We're walking in the midst of it.
So anyway, I just.
And that's good.
It's a cure, and we've talked about it, you know, I know
Well,
at my.
It's, and see, and there's a transition, this is a process. Recovery is a process. Did I mention recovery is a process?
Yeah.
It's a process. It's ongoing, and it will be ongoing. But I don't want us to walk in fear, okay, because that makes us susceptible to relapse too, okay? But if we're strong and we're able to walk in confidence and in faith, then we have enhanced our odds, if you want to use that terminology, of that we won't have a relapse. And the trouble is, relapse comes when we're weak. When there is an unusual situation, whether it's positive or negative, things take us, blindside us, good or even bad, okay? And so, in our brain, the scripture says that we need to renew our mind by the washing of the water of the word, and we have to continually renew that. And the trouble is, just like it is in clothes, you can wash the dirt out of the surface of the clothes, but that doesn't mean all the dirt's out. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
And so we start cleaning this, and we are redeemed, but we haven't fulfilled the full process yet, because it's a journey. Okay? And when we stop thinking that it's not a journey, that we have arrived, we've made the destination, that's when we can be susceptible. Right? Because if we then go rationalizing, like we've talked about here, then we negotiate with ourselves, against ourselves, because we see the substance or behavior or lifestyle or whatever it is, we see that as something that benefited me or was good to me or helped me. Not saying that maybe it did help you at one small juncture to help you escape, but how much has that cost you? How much is it continuing to cost you? All right? And so is it really your friend? You know? And so is it my rescue? Is it my escape? Is it my refuge? And if you think it is, then you may be in the middle of emotional relapse. Have I said that before?
Yeah.
Just thought I'd throw that in there. And you haven't used anything or acted out yet.
That's the post.
But,
Post.
right. Not post, pre. So, all right. I think, do I want to cover that? Why not? Hello. Somebody needs to turn their phone off. Difficulties are not experienced when they are confronted. Now, that's a challenging thought. Think about it for a second.
Say it again, please.
I will. Difficulties are not experienced when they are confronted. What does that mean? Because we look at difficulties, and if we see them as a problem that's overwhelming, that means we act or react out of fear.
Most of the time, there's really no big, we make mountains out of molehills.
Right, because of our fear.
Because of our fear.
Right. And so if you're able to confront them, if you're able to step into them, then it's not a difficulty. It's an issue that has to be dealt with. And the rest of the story is, because you're dealing with it, then it's a learning opportunity, which oftentimes I call, very possibly, a golden opportunity. Okay? Shall I go forward? Because I tied these next statements with that opening statement. I'm going to read that again and then go to the next one. Difficulties are not experienced when they are confronted. Environment trumps willpower. What does that mean? Well, why does the environment trump willpower? Well, because whatever people, places, or things that we put ourselves into, no matter how much willpower we exert, it's environment will overcome your willpower. Is that not true in your own personal experience? So the idea is, if you choose the environment and you say, well, I ought to be able to whatever, right? I should be able to master this. I should be able to handle this. That means I choose the environment because I got willpower. What is that saying? saying you might be in the middle of emotional relapse, right?
Or we get placed in situations where we don't want to beat each other with choice.
That would be emotional relapse. So we're going to continue. Don't waste your willpower on battling with your environment. Okay, think about it. Don't waste your willpower on battling your environment.
Just don't do it.
Don't do it. Let's go forward. Use your limited willpower to create better environments and better habits instead. Does that help clear some of that up? So use your willpower, use your limited willpower where it's most effective on creating good environments and good habits. How about that?
Yeah.
And then it's a win-win situation. Okay? The key to willpower is to use it. The key to willpower is to use it for avoidance rather than resistance. I want to read that one again. The key to willpower is to use it for avoidance rather than resistance.
Right. Like what you just said.
What I just said.
Uh-huh.
Okay? So I know that I shouldn't go there, so I don't go there, because if I put myself in the environment, it's going to override my willpower. Because even though I think I'm Superman or Superwoman, my willpower is not that powerful, particularly when my amygdala or my hippocampus takes over and shuts down the rest of my brain that I can't think. Now I'm in the middle of not only a emotional relapse, because now I'm starting to get close to the mental relapse, which we'll talk more about in a minute. A couple minutes. All right, I'm almost done with this. Let me find my place. Okay. Avoiding temptation is easier than trying to resist it. We already figured that out, right? Now you are playing offense instead of defense. You're playing offense instead of defense. If you're trying to use your willpower to alter your environment that you're in, then you're playing defense. If you're creating the environment, then you're playing offense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So to play willpower offense, use willpower to set up an environment that encourages the behaviors you want to have. So use your willpower to set up environments that encourages the behaviors that you want to have. All right? That's offense. All right? I just thought this was really good. I stumbled across it this week, and I was thinking about it, and I did some research on it and studying it. And actually how I found it is by this next statement. I'm going to read it, and that is, have you heard that 95%, the 95% law? I had never heard of that. Have you heard it? 95% law? The law of conformity, okay? And that is, we humans, 95% of the time, want to conform to the environment that we're in. So, and we choose the environment.
Fit in.
Yeah, fit in. To be accepted to the environment. And so,
And whatever they're doing, we'll do it because we accept it.
because 95% of the time, we'll be doing exactly what they're doing,
Yeah.
according to this law that was stated. Anyway, something to think about, right?
Yeah.
I know we say change the people, place, and things, but why? Well, because it's healthy. Well, here's why. Okay, that's because 95% of the time you'll be doing just exactly whatever they're doing, that you're in the environment that you're in. Now, if that's what you want, if that's in your best interest, if that's healthy for you, there you go.
You may not right at the time, but stay in the
Right.
But I also had mentioned, yes, that's true, but in my case, it wasn't this last time. I didn't know the people. I didn't know them, but I found my devil.
Yeah, well, so, okay, I think I'm gonna stop right there, and we're gonna go with, our reading of the 12 steps. And I appreciate Willie coming forward, and he's gonna read it, so give Willie a big hand. Here's Willie.
Step right up.
Hey, Billy!
Give one a hand, everybody.
Do what?
Yay, just one.
I think it's better.
Not a good guy.
One, we admit that we were powerless in our problems and that our lives have become unmanageable. Two, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Three, we made a decision to turn our wills and our lives over to the care of God. Four, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact natures of our wrongs. 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. 7, we humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings. 8, we made a list of all persons that had harmed. We made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them. 9, we made direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, we continued to take personal inventory, and when we're wrong, promptly admit it. 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge and His will for us and the power to carry it out. 12, having a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and practice these principles in all our affairs.
Thank you.
You're up. Step right up there, baby. You're batter up.
All right, how's everyone doing tonight?
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right, on confession. Confession here, I'm gonna read out of Nehemiah chapter 9, verses 1-3. And it says, the people confessed their sins. It says on October 31st, the people assembled again, and this time they fasted and dressed in burlap and sprinkled dust on their heads. Those of Israelite descent separated themselves from all foreigners as they confessed their own sins and the sins of their ancestors. They remained standing in place for 3 hours while the book of the law, the Lord their God, was read aloud to them. And then for 3 more hours they confessed their sins and worshiped the Lord their God. And it says we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. As we make our moral inventory, we will probably find ourselves listing our destructive habits, our defects of character, the wrongs we have done, the consequences of wrong choices that we now live with, and the hurts that we have caused others. It's like setting through all the garbage in our past. This is painful, but it is a necessary part of throwing away those rotten habits and behaviors that, if not dealt with, will certainly spoil the rest of our life. It says the returned Jewish exiles confessed their own sins. This phrase speaks volumes. says this, the idea of confession involves not only owning up to one's sin, but being truly sorry for them as well. Sins are offenses against God, including any transgressions against His will. The natural follow-up to true confession after owning up to our sins and bemoaning them before God is to turn from them. The Israelites' confession can serve as a model for us to follow as we take our moral inventory. It says we can list the occasions of our offenses, our destructive habits, and the consequences that were brought into our life and the lives of others. Then after accounting for all the garbage, we can take out the trash. In their confession, the Israelites bemoaned and then discarded their own sins. After this, they were better able to make a new start. We can own the garbage in our own life by taking personal responsibility for our choices and actions. We can bemoan it by allowing ourselves to grieve. We can discard it by leaving it behind and turning toward the future. Confession has to, it's just part of it, as step 3 lets us know that, we've got to do the steps in order. Confession, step 1 is we admitted that we were powerless over our addiction and our lives had become unmanageable. Step 2 says we make it, we then turn our, it says we came to believe in a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And then 3 is that we make a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God through Jesus Christ, or, as we understand Him, which do get that. But as far as in confession, for me, once I got out there in addiction again, especially, coming to that step 4, I was kind of reading something this week, and it says we make a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. And the fearless part is not necessarily that we won't have fear. As I'll back here, I'll back up here and read here. It says the step aroused fear and negativity, and it was talking about Alan's heart, and this is back on 29 in the Life Recovery Workbook, and it says, in fact, he was so daunted that he thought it would be impossible to do a fearless moral inventory, even if he did want to recover. First, with the image of God, he thought that the searching part was so that God could hunt him down and retaliate him for all the wrongs and sins that he had committed. He didn't want to look because he knew he'd been immoral and looked like a heathen for many years before becoming a Christian. His addiction was not actually pristine either, so he found, which I kind of got hung up on that word, but pristine. I know deeper, and the deeper that I got in my addiction, it was so hard, for me to come back, because not that it was, because I knew that God was a forgiving God. He never gave up on me. But it's just every time we get out there, we get caught up in the guilt and the shame, and we think that, I know that the trusting God for me in step 3, and I know I heard someone say here a couple weeks back about step 3 is kind of a tough one for them, and for me it wasn't really a big time deal. I just, for me, I went away. I got fearful. All the fear in my life and all of that had gotten kind of in the way. Fear was kind of one of my biggest battles. Was fear in my life, but going back to here, kind of what I talked about, it says it would be impossible to actually do a fearless moral inventory, even if he did want to recover it. We always think that it's gonna be, fearless, but ultimately, we have to I know I had to deal with that fear of dealing with all that junk, all that destructive behavior that I had dealt with, and so I have to be willing to step out of that and come into for me, I like to, I was thinking about the scripture there in, Proverbs 28:13 says that, I'll kind of, Proverbs, one second here, find it here, and I'll get out a new translation. Wrote down here, but it says 28:13. Okay, 28:13 says, people who conceal their sins will not prosper, but if they confess and turn from them, they will receive mercy. And man, that's definitely true. God said that if we come, there's one person that we can always confess our destructive habits, anything that we carry. But recovery, it starts with getting honest with ourselves, as we take the steps in order, getting honest with ourselves and realizing that we can't, if we conceal those sins, it says we will not prosper, but if we confess and turn from them, that we will receive mercy. So with that, going back to Nehemiah, talking about the confession part, I've got to get real with myself, as step 4 really talks about confessing. I've got to let God dig deep down in my heart and let Him do the work that only He can do. Because He's the only one that can. He's the only one that knows me, truly knows me, and can really, that really knows me. And as I confess to Him, He can take those habits, and trust is one of our biggest barriers there. And so anyway, with that, I think I will pass.
All right. Hey, Brandon.
It's an awesome job, Brandon. I don't know how I can add anything really to what you just said, because you just covered everything I was gonna say. But, I know the way I feel about confession. I relate confession a lot with forgiveness, because without the confession, you're not gonna have the forgiveness. You have to be willing to confess to God and to other people your shortcomings, and most of the time I found when I was in the middle of my stuff, I didn't even want to confess to myself, much less to God or to anybody else, which God already knows. But I wanted to hide my stuff. And if I continue to do that, then there is no forgiveness. And without the forgiveness, you're not going to move forward. Confession is a major part of the 4th step of the moral inventory. When you're doing your moral inventory, I would like to reread something that you've already read, but I really like this part, and it's down here on this. It says in their confession, the Israelites owned bemoaned, and I had to ask Doug what that meant, bemoaned. And it's got to do with grieving. And then discarded their sins. After this, they were better able to make a new start. We can own the garbage in our own life by taking personal responsibility for our choices and actions. And that's what I've always had a hard time doing right there, is taking personal responsibility for my actions.
And my problem is, I admit I'm a sinner. I'm a drug addict. Damn right I was. The only thing I was ever guilty of is doing drugs. The main bad thing about being guilty of that is trusting the wrong people to get high with. You know, you smoke methamphetamines, you're looking at the clock at 8 o'clock, you come 2, 10, 12 hours later, still sitting in the same spot, you ain't smoking methamphetamine, see what I'm saying?
Right.
So what I'm trying to say is, my guilty part is hanging out with the wrong people at the wrong time, at the wrong places, you know? And I come to the conclusion that, you know, every place I've been is where they wanted me to be, you know?
Well, and that kinda
And
goes
that
back,
is a fact,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
and that's a fact, but, it's okay, you know?
And that kinda goes back to what Doug was saying earlier about, you know, it's kinda like you stay in that environment for too long.
But the thing about it is, you know, having somebody controlling your say-so, where you stay and where you go, and they put you in every place you've been, you really don't have a choice.
Right. Well, I see your point.
Go with the flow, if you don't, you know,
Right,
who knows what happened.
that's right, that's right,
That's what happened.
yeah.
But is it true?
Yeah,
But
no
is it-
four states.
But is it true that you didn't have any choice?
The most thing, like I said, somebody comes along, you live in a state, you don't know nobody. Somebody comes along being nice to you, being your friend.
So, but is it true that
Trust
you
me.
didn't, is it absolutely true you didn't have any choice?
No, I really didn't. Not because I was concerned for others, and that was my problem, I was caring about other people when I shouldn't.
So you had a choice, but you just made the wrong choice.
Yeah, caring for others.
You lost the ability to exercise your choice because you're concerned for other people
Well, I'll
overrode
just
that
put it this way.
ability.
Don't matter what kid, my kid or not, don't matter. There's still somebody's child that there's, you know, you might look at one person, a piece of crap to you, but that one person could have made the world with somebody else.
That's
Right, yeah, I understand that, sure,
Good point.
sure.
You know, they ain't got nobody I'm gonna help them, and I'm trying. And I can get bad situations for caring, for having a heart.
Right,
but that was a choice.
Yeah, stupid, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's my point. It was a choice. It wasn't that you had no choice, that was the choice that you made.
For helping others, yeah.
And then you have to decide whether that was a
Until
healthy
you
choice.
figured it out, you know, like until I figured out, oh my God, you know, and then I figured it out, and that's when I stopped
Yeah,
helping people.
yeah, because a lot of people sabotage themselves by helping other people because they feel bad and they're about themselves.
You know, just like they said, the devil comes in many shapes, sizes, and forms. Like, he comes looking at you like your family, kids, you know, they're just out to destroy you. And that's what they were doing. And I was stupid, I let them in.
Well, we're glad you're here tonight.
yeah, we're glad you're here. Thank you very much.
Well, glad to have you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Rick. Rick, batter up.
And you've been here before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a little bit, but I'm glad you're here.
Good man, ain't it?
And, you know, life is full of messy stuff and challenging choices. And some of those things that we were talking about a while ago about negotiating, they call it rationalization. If you have to rationalize something like using or acting out or whatever, like it's not as bad as those other people, then that means that you're probably heading into emotional relapse. And we'll be talking about the 3 different stages here in a minute. But there's a couple things I wanted to hit on.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
You bet.
Sorry to interrupt you, but
You're not sorry, but go ahead.
no, I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt you. What I'm saying is.
Yes.
Do you believe, I do, I don't know if anybody else does, but I'll just say there are some things that God can make you see that nobody else can. You know what I mean?
So is that a question or what?
I'm asking you, do you believe that? Do you
He
believe
did.
in the
He
Holy
did that
Spirit,
too.
Jesus
That
Christ, and God
he
the
does
Father?
that. He has done that from the Old Testament to the New Testament to the present time.
Yeah. I mean, you probably think it's crazy if I said this, but there were some things that's happened to me in my life. I'm just gonna say that there's no earthly way possible I could have known, and like over the years it's coming to, and it's crazy, but it is so true.
God intervenes in our life,
He does, that's the point.
and we need to recognize that He does intervene in our life, and we need to know that He has done that to try to help us, to take care of us, and to bless us. But oftentimes we resist it. Sometimes we ignore it. But if we will just, because we can't always see it in present time, but if we'll look back at the events in our life, we can see where God did intervene in our lives. And we can take that as our present time evidence that He showed up back then. Because if He didn't show up here, we wouldn't be alive. None of us.
If He didn't die for our sins.
Right. Well, that's true, dying for our sins, but I'm talking about being actively involved in our human life right now. Yes, He did die for our sins, so that He could have greater access in our life. And that's what we're talking about here, is being able to use confession to help us to make that connection. Instead of having one of the things that Rick commented on, I think it was Rick, and I think Brandon also, about sometimes we get so loaded up with shame that we just want to bury it. We want to hide from it. We want to avoid it, because we're ashamed of ourselves. We're ashamed of what we did. We're ashamed of what happened. We want to do what Adam and Eve did in the very beginning. When they messed up, they ran and hid. And so we want to hide because we're trying to get out from underneath it. That is addictive behavior, looking for a form of escape. Okay? But reality here is, if we use this same analogy we're talking about here, about running and hiding from God, is that we need to go to Him instead of run from Him. And even God intervened in their lives by saying, "Where are you? Where are you?" Well, didn't God know where they were? Certainly, He knew where they were. Just like He knows where you've been, where you are, and where you're going to be. Right? And He said, "Where are you?" Because He needed them to respond to Him, come to Him, instead of running from Him. And that's what shame does. It makes us want to run and hide. And confession here is that we recognize we've messed up. Well, we already knew that, right? Right? But now we need to deal with it. Okay? It's like, have you ever had stinking trash in wherever you keep your trash? And you say, "Well, what's that smell? What's that smell? What's that smell?" Well, and every day it gets worse, right?
Because you don't take out the trash.
Yeah, because you haven't taken out the trash. All right, well, finally we say, "Well, it's the trash that's stinking." All right, now we know it's the trash that's stinking. That's like confession. All right, I recognize it. It's the trash. I need to take out the trash. But the only trouble is, if we don't take out the trash, it's going to continue to stink, right?
You tried to make the confession, let's say 10, 12 years ago, but nobody won't listen to you, and they kept you away from all your family, you think you're then what you do after that?
The best thing you can do in life situation like that is that you have to make, instead of sabotaging your life, instead of ruining your life, instead of making unhealthy and unproductive choices, you turn your life around, you get into mental, emotional, spiritual, physical recovery, and you make your life better so that you can be in a position to be able for God to use you and to be able to have, or if for adventure, if possible, God would open up the doors to turn the tide and turn things around. Because I've seen God turn the tide around in things that I didn't think was even possible. But I didn't give up anyway, because I thought, well, maybe, right? Even though it looked impossible. In fact, I even told God, this is impossible. There's no way. I got to trust you in this totally. Well, who was I trusting before? Well, I was trusting me mostly, but God did intervene. And I have worked with people throughout with Saturday Night Live. And by the way, this is our, we just celebrated our 17th year anniversary here.
Really?
Yes, and even though we didn't really celebrate it, we kind of went right through it. But so we're on our 18th year here. But we have, I don't know how many people have come to me and said, I don't see any way that my family can be restored. But given time and work and growth and development, it happened. It doesn't happen all at once. It's piece by piece, inch by inch. And the thing of it is, we have to change so that we can be ready and be able to be in the position. That's my answer to your question. Okay?
Yeah, good news, but finally Tuesday, I'm going to work. She'll be done and over with, and I'll have my freedom, and then I can start over here.
All right.
Without
Good.
having to worry about none of that no more.
Good deal. Good deal. And so we were talking about taking out the trash. So we need to go ahead and they gave 3 things about owning here. The first part was you confess. You recognize, you confess what the problem is. All right. It's the trash that's stinking. It's because I haven't taken out the trash. All right. So I see I've taken out the trash. And the next step is that the word that Rick was talking about is about bemoaning or great sadness. Okay. I'm sorry that I've messed up here. I haven't taken out the trash. I should have taken out the trash. For some reason, I didn't do it. Whether I didn't know that I should do it, or if because I messed up, or I was just being hard to get along with, or I was throwing a fit, or maybe I didn't see it, but I started smelling it. All right. And so we recognize it, and we are sorry that this has happened. I messed up. Okay, that's step 2. Confess is number 1. Being sorry, mourning, grief, sorrow. I messed up. Okay, and then number 3 is I've owned the problem, and now it's time to take out the trash and discard that stuff. All right, take out the trash. I've messed up. And then we let it go. We eliminate it. We take it out. We put it where it belongs. And we're talking about these bad habits or bad choices or sin, if you want to refer to it that way, that I need to let it go. Oh man, I forgot to do this. I had an illustration along this line. Maybe I ought to save it until next week. It's a good illustration. I had never done it before. It kind of came up to me while I was praying, and I guess I forgot about it by the time I got done. And so, but I remembered it just now. But don't let me forget. okay?
Okay.
And, it's about rocks, okay? Yeah. Okay, so anyway, we discard it. And so, what behavior over my lifetime has been an offense or hurt God, okay? Offense to God or hurt God. What behavior? Just think about it.
What behavior hurts God?
What behavior have you done that offended or hurt God? I changed the word from offend to hurt because if you look up offend is causing a hurt.
I think for me, what would hurt the most was, suffering. Seeing me suffer
Okay?
for no reason that I shouldn't have had to.
Okay? What destructive habit, we're talking about our destructive habits here, what destructive habit needs to be identified and confessed to God? Because we just talked about that, but it's asking the same question that we've already talked about. So, what destructive habit needs to be identified? You don't have to say this out loud. Just think about it. What needs to be identified? What destructive habit? Destructive habit. Destructive habit. Destructive habit. Did I get my point across?
Yeah.
We're talking about a destructive habit. That means it's a habit that doesn't build you up, it tears you down. Right? Needs to be identified and then confessed. Even if you confess that I've got this habit and I need to get rid of it, but I keep doing it.
I think mine is, my habit, honestly, I was really sober for 4 years, no lie, doing great, coming up time. My daughter had a wreck and, pretty much killed her. They did. And after that, I lost the kid, doctors were giving her medication, wanted me to stay in the hospital with her. What mother would not want to use not being with your daughter? If not, there's something wrong with you getting them all. Whether it's alcohol, anxiety pill, a stress pill, something of some sort. A mom can't just sit there and continue going to work every day with smiles in your face if your child's in the hospital dying, you can't be there with her.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you that it would be hard to go to work every day with smiles on your face, but
Can't even call and talk to him either.
yeah, and there are challenging situations. So then, therefore, using your logic, every challenging situation gives me permission to use.
No, it doesn't, but it helps with the pain.
It numbs the pain, but it doesn't.
It keeps you from wanting to go psycho and kill everyone.
Well, it may.
I mean, it just ain't true.
But again, that rationalization is you're negotiating with yourself against yourself, and and you're saying that's the only way through this, but that's not the only way through it. That's just the only way that you knew how, and so you chose to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Very emotional.
and the fact of it is, it was really destructive to you and to your relationships with those around you, and probably even your daughter.
Exactly. And,
Exactly.
when you
That's your point, isn't it?
Yes, that's my point. Hey, you know what? You get aggravated, nobody listen to you, and then everybody tries to flip the script and say you're the crazy one, blah, blah, blah. You know what are you supposed to do?
Hey, we're all crazy. It's just a matter of degrees.
Especially when you got a 7-nation army against you.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I'm glad you're here tonight.
Me too.
I just now figured out who you are.
Yeah.
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 Been a minute.
Okay. I think we're going to stop right there. I just wanted to touch that, and because I'm not going to get through the 3 stages of recovery, but we'll it probably does us good to review it, right? All right, because I'm going to review it. Relapse prevention, this is a plan, and this is, I got it from Tree House Recovery, and it's really a good, I've liked it. So there's 3 stages of relapse, okay? You've heard me say it. It's emotional relapse. That's how you feel, right?
Yep.
The second one is mental relapse. That's how you think, right? And the third is physical relapse.
How you act toward it.
That's the hardest, right? That's where you're either on the verge of active use or acting out or being involved in whatever your addiction is, or actually doing it. Okay, you're kind of on the pursuit of it or doing it. Hopefully, we get to talk about that more tonight. So, emotional relapse. I know that I've already gone over this, but I think it probably will do us some good. And we have some new people here that haven't heard this, so I'm going to touch that. So, is that okay? You'll indulge me, all right? Well, thank you. And so, emotional relapse is emotional relapse is usually a result of poor self-care. Okay, that means you're not taking care of yourself. That means you've allowed situations in your life go haywire. You're not taking care of yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. You're not doing all kinds of things, and we'll be talking about that. Okay, so during this stage, you don't actually use, but the emotions and the strain results in the lack of self-care. So you're having the strain, so you stop taking care of yourself. You stop doing what you know you need to do to stay in recovery. You say, well, I'm too stressed out, I can't do that now, right? And the question is, where does that get you? Relapse, right. And so it goes on to say, where am I at? But the emotional and stress results from the lack of self-care and may eventually set you up for relapse by creating the desire to escape. And that's just what she was talking about, the desire to escape the situation because it was challenging, right? Okay? The signs they have here. Signs of emotional relapse. Signs of emotional relapse. Anxiety, depression, mood swings, anger, being defensive, easily irritable. These are some of the signs. Some poor self-care methods here. Poor self-care is isolating, not going to meetings, not exercising. They say exercise is like taking Prozac, so it helps you mentally, emotionally, and physically. Eating properly and regularly, breaking your sober routine. One of the things of having good, healthy self-care is having a healthy routine. Because if the theory behind habits are that if you create a habit, then you don't have to rethink everything that you got to do. The habit that you created unconsciously runs your system. Okay? And I believe that God gave that to us, so because that means that unconsciously, then you program your habits, you create the habits or the plan that you want to follow. You follow that plan until it goes into your non-conscious or subconscious, and then it works for you if you allow it to. And that way you don't have to rethink every move that you do. It becomes unconscious. If you choose a healthy. Unhealthy habits, they run your life too. In fact, some research says that we actually don't make, we only make 5% of the choices that we make. 95% of our choices are made from our unconscious. It's a big number. So it's what we have programmed ourselves in. That's so we need to keep our routines. Regular sleep schedule. You need to get enough sleep, because if you don't get enough sleep, it messes you up physically and mentally and emotionally. And stop bottling up emotions. Here's what I was talking about earlier about pause, and that is the signs of emotional relapse can also be related to the post-acute withdrawal syndrome. And what's going on there is that it is a collection of psychological and mood-related syndromes that occur in your brain, okay, in recovery, that affect you because of your addiction, your addictions, your acting out, what the chemicals that you have either consumed or created that have affected you. And then when you're, particularly if you're using substances, that when you go through regular withdrawals, that you go through that, and it lasts usually 2 or 3 days, maybe a little longer, depending on the level of your use. But again, the pause can last up to 2 years. And you wanted to say something about that?
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know if anybody ever heard of it, sure, but what's called the dry drunk syndrome. And I relate that to the pause.
Okay, all right, that's good. Good information.
When you're into the pause, dry drunk syndrome, you're going through everything you just mentioned. You're going through anger. You may not be thinking about relapse.
Right.
You know, you may not have maybe the furthest thing in your mind, but
It's emotionally pushing you around.
you're just you're a merry-go-round. You're going from anger to just being real anxious, being sad. You've got all these emotions going.
Right.
And it's just spinning around and around and around.
And that's not because of the drug itself, it's the effect that the drug had on your brain and your nervous system.
Exactly, right. I think statistically, they say with alcohol, it's 5 years before that starts, your brain starts healing from that. I know with meth, they say statistically it's 10 years.
And so it's very important, and that's the reason why self-care is so important, and to have people around you. And I need to move on this. And so when we go through these things that you just mentioned there, that creates the scenario that she was talking about a while ago. Is it's only right to have a way of escape this problem. I mean, the problem is too big, but the trouble is that it takes you out, right? That it doesn't. It takes you out, and then you escape it, but the problem is still alive. It's still going on, and you're not dealing with it. The article I read here a while back about a very successful businessman. He had a construction firm, but he loved smoking pot. Okay, and so and far as he was concerned, he didn't have a problem because he tried to mellow out because of smoking pot. So it was not an issue to him, and he seemed to be okay, be able to function. But the only trouble was he never dealt with any of his problems because he's escaped them, okay, by smoking pot. Does that make sense what I've said so far? And so what happened was eventually, because he didn't deal with problems at home, he didn't deal with his kids, he didn't deal with some of the, a lot of the problems at work, okay? Because, you know, I know one strategy was, well, we just make more money and that fixes all the problems. How's that worked out for any of us? Because it doesn't work. Money can help, but money doesn't fix it, right? We have to deal with the problems. And if you escape the problem, then you're not going to deal with the problem, so you can't fix the problem, so the problem gets bigger. And he ended up losing his business, he ended up losing his family, he ended up being disconnected from his kids, and the thing that was not a problem was the problem that was causing him not to deal with stuff in his life. Does that make sense? Okay. And so, so you can hide your head in the sand by escaping, but that doesn't fix anything. Now, I know it's our human nature to avoid pain and seek pleasure. Yes, that's part of our survival mechanism. But if we stay stuck in survival mode of escaping the pain, avoiding the pain, then we're never dealing with life and we're never growing in life. We're never developing in life. Does that make sense? So what that means is you have to be willing to step in to the pain. Now, I'm not telling you to be a martyr. I'm telling you that as the statement that I read earlier, difficulties, what was it? Difficulties?
So difficulties are not experienced unless we face them?
It's getting close to that. Difficulties are not experienced when they are confronted. And so yes, it's hard, but what's even harder is escaping from them, and then they come and eat your legs off.
If we don't face the pain will rule us.
It will take us over. It will compound exponentially. Right? Isn't that true? Isn't that the truth? I want to, they suggest a emotional relapse prevention plan, and we need to create a prevention plan, and we'll talk more about that later. And we need to create a plan, because if you don't create a plan for your life is going to create a plan for you, and you won't like it. Right?
Right.
So we need to create a healthy plan and write it down so that we can remember it in the crisis. Does that make sense? And that is self-education. That is self-care. That's helping us to navigate the difficulties of life. And as you learn how to navigate the difficulties of life, you're growing up and you're maturing, and whether you realize it or not, people around you are seeing it. Because they do. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead, and we're going to go to mental relapse. This is the second type of relapse, and one of the main points about mental relapse is that all of the signs that we talked about a while ago, all the signs that we had a while ago that we went through, you have all of those signs plus the ones that I want to read right now. These are signs. What's a sign? Well, what's a stop sign? It's a signal, right? It's to indicate something. You were talking about these signs of emotional relapse a while ago, dry drunk. Those are signs or signals, indicators that's saying, look out, alert, alert,
Danger.
problem, yeah, danger.
Danger, Will Robinson.
Okay, right? So here's some more, and this goes into the mental relapse. And so you add all of those, and you go into cravings for the substance or the behavior. Okay? Rationalization, we were talking about rationalization earlier. rationalization why you can use one more time. All right? Okay, I know a guy that he had been clean for 10 years off of meth, and he shot up. And of course, there were particular situations why it all happened, but it happened. Okay? And he stopped right there. He didn't go any further. Now, that's hard. That's hard to turn it around. But the thing of it is, he learned. He came to me and he said, this is what happened. I said, what'd you learn? Because that's what I always say, what'd you learn? Because if you don't learn from your crap, then you're going to get to do the same crap again. How you like those terminologies? Right? Isn't that the truth? 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 I think I had 99%. So, all right, so what we have to do is so he stopped. Now, he was sorry, he didn't like it, he couldn't believe that happened, and all those things, okay? But some people that would have thought that substance was the fix-all would continue to do it. Because the fact of it is, it's my hero that just showed up. Now that's kind of weird the way I said it, but it's my fixer. It's my escape. It's the thing that makes everything okay for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Few minutes, right? And so and the only way to keep it okay for a few minutes is to do some more. And the fact of it is, when we realize that I messed up.
We're done past that.
Okay, I've messed up. I've messed up. I've messed up. That's confession, right? I've messed up. We need to identify what's going on and take out the trash. I'm stopping here. And what did I learn? I asked him. I said, "What did you learn?" He said, "I learned that I don't need to do that. I don't want to do that. It's destructive to my life, and I'm not doing that anymore."
Kills and destroys.
Do I?
Kills, steals, and destroys.
Kills, steals, and destroys, right. And that happens to us over and over. So one of the other signs is, I already talked about that one, waiting to use substances and think about it. Wanting to use substances and thinking about it. And I've already pretty much touched on that. That's a sign, a reservation. I'm thinking about it. And if you're thinking about it, that's a mental relapse. If you're thinking about it, it's a mental relapse. Did I mention if you think about it, it's a mental relapse? Well, if this situation, this rationalization, which we talked about just a moment ago, if this happens, we had someone that used to be a part of Saturday Night Live, and he said, "I'm not going to use unless this happens."
That's emotional.
And when that happened, he had a relapse. Why? Because he planned it,
Reservation.
right? Because whatever we plan on, we're going to have in our life.
And if we plan on drugs, we're going to have drugs.
And the thing of it was, his particular plan was, it was when my mother dies, I know I'm going to relapse. I'm going to do it. Okay? It's kind of like Elvis Presley says, I'm going to die at 40. Guess what? He died at 40. Why? Because that's what he said. You're going to get what you say. Why? Because you're bringing it into you. You can affect what you're thinking. And even in the scripture says out of Proverbs that whatsoever man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Right? So, let's romanticizing the past substance, high, or behavior. Right? Stinking thinking. You thought, oh man, how great that was, how fun that was, how beneficial that was. And that is a mental relapse. That's a signal that, like Rick was talking about, it's a signal. Warning, warning, warning,
High voltage.
stinking thinking.
High voltage.
Use your terminology, okay? Do what? High voltage, yeah. Stick your finger in this socket over here, right? Think about, thinking about the people and places associated with your substance. I think we kind of touched on that a while ago. We think about the people, we think about the places that are associated with it. We're thinking about it. We're thinking about it, you know, and not that it may be a subconscious thought, but when you realize that you're thinking it, listen to me, listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. When you realize you're thinking it, that's when you can grab a hold. And if you don't grab a hold,
You're gonna do it.
you're going to go down the hole,
Exactly.
right? Isn't that truth?
Yes.
Isn't that the truth? Okay, all right. All right, so mental relapse prevention. Okay, we're going to talk about prevention. And there's 3 P's, and we have 3 minutes. And so what we're trying to do is we need to recognize our relapse and our triggers to our relapse. We need to be aware. We need to be self-aware. We need to be emotionally aware. We need to be mentally aware. We need to know our triggers, okay?
All the time.
Yeah, all the time, because if we're aware of them, then we can say, there's a signal. Alert, alert, alert. I'm having this signal. Are you following?
Yeah.
Okay, some of those things are traumatic events,
Yes.
stress,
Yep.
stressful events, traumatic events, things, just things. And then you got a thing down there, just things, okay? Feelings, people, places, thoughts that can make you crave an escape.
Exactly.
Okay?
Reservation.
All right. Number 1, first P is to list your past triggers. Okay? List your past triggers. Think back to your addiction or your acting out, and what kind of thoughts, feelings, people were you around when you wanted to use back then. Just think about it. Just think about it. Okay? Because those are triggers, right?
Now,
All right. Now think back to your past relapse. Okay? And let's see where I went. Now think back to your past. All right. Now think back to your past relapse, if you've had any, or acting out, or your behaviors. What were the things, feelings, or people, or stresses that sent you back to the substance or the behaviors?
my daughter. So I had to play tough love again.
Okay? And so we need to recognize the first P is past. Second P is the present. Okay? Identify similar present day triggers. Okay? What's going on? That's what happened then, because most of our triggers are not brand new. We've seen them before. Yeah, maybe it was a surprise the first time, maybe the second time.
We recycle them though.
Yeah, and how many times do they have to come around before you realize this is a pattern? How many times? I don't know.
But now that
Yeah.
wasn't my
If you're not looking, you can avoid them for a long time, right?
I'm not blaming my daughter for that. I should have been
You have to take responsibility.
exactly.
Right. And so we need to look for the present day triggers of what things that happened in the past and what's going on right now in your life that's similar. Okay? And it's saying, warning, 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 it's a sign. The sign says you're in the middle of a mental relapse. What are you going to do? You see the sign? You're aware of it? It's called decision time. Which way are you going to go? What are you going to do? Deuteronomy 30:19 says, choose you this day. Blessings or cursings. Life or death. You get to choose. And it affects you and your family.
Kind of like the song, signs everywhere there's signs, talking about people changing their minds.
Yeah. So we need to recognize them. And the third P, and then we're gonna close here. One of these days I'll get all the way through this worksheet. Okay, all right. The third P is plan. Make a plan, make a plan. Think back to your recovery, what you wanted, what you did. Think back about the things that you decided to do. Think back to the triggers that you had to deal with. You know, how many times have I talked with people that they've said, I don't want to go, I don't want to detox anymore. I don't want to do this. I want this to be the last time. I do too. I want it to be the last time. You know what I mean? But I said, you need to be aware. And then the next time that we're starting to get close, I said, you remember the time you said before you don't want to do detox? You're setting yourself up
For detox.
And so the only bad thing is if you don't do detox and you've been using, if you don't go through the detox, then chances are you just probably will die. You'll die in your addiction.
Yeah. I detoxed for 6 days this time.
So make a plan. Make a plan. What would your life look like if you had a healthy plan? Repeat. What would your life look like if you had a healthy plan?
It'd be the right life.
Now, if you remember, I say important things 3 times, right? And I'm pointing it out here. What would your life look like if you had a healthy plan?
It'd be the right life.
Okay? And so, and if you're making that plan, that means you will be emotionally healthy, you'll be mentally healthy, and you'll be physically healthy, and you'll be able
To
recognize it and deal with it. And of course, we're talking about making a plan, writing it down, making a plan, writing it down, making a plan. If you don't have it written down, you haven't made a plan. Does that make sense? And so there's many things you can do. And to conclude here on the physical relapse, and that is that you're getting ready to, you're looking for it, you're getting ready for it, you're looking to buy, okay, you're looking to get a hold of, you're driving around looking for stuff or looking for people that can tell you stuff.
You're listening to music.
Yeah. Or you listen to the music that's calling, and you're calling people, you're out asking people to try to help you find it, but most of us, we have that internal navigating system that can help us find whatever it is that we're looking for.
We draw to.
They call that the reticular activating system. That's part of some of what's in your brain, part of your brain, and that's because you told it that's what you want, so that's what it looks for. So it knows the signs and signals for that, and it will work against you. So you have to also work against your own brain to recover, but you can do it. And the way you do it is by giving yourself 30 minutes when you're in the middle of a problem, because in 30 minutes, the chemical will dissipate, the pressure will go down, and I've had people that say, they call me and they told me later, says, you're right, in 20 or 30 minutes, I felt different. I was able to go on, okay? So, so the first step is give yourself some time, 30 minutes to get over it. And then, or number 2, call somebody, like that person did I'm talking about right now. They called me, and they were, they were just screaming crazy because they wanted to use. And so I called, I talked to them, we visited, and I told them that they just needed to give it some time. It will subside if you stop feeding it. You gotta stop feeding it, because if you keep feeding it, yeah, okay. So, may the Lord bless you. keep you. May his face shine upon you and give you his peace. And we do want his peace, right?
Amen.
We want his peace. Make healthy choices. Amen?
Amen.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Good job, Doug.
Thank you.
Been hanging on, I didn't hear that.
I'm glad you were here.
And I've been making notes.
Yeah, folks look over here too.